Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you, wherever you are across the world. Welcome to Live a Phenomenal Life Show with me, Madame Merola, your host. This is season 5, episode 25, and I have a guest with me on today's episode where we're going to be talking about the good, the bad, and the unknown sides of relationships. My guest name is Dr. Bright Oris, and it's going to be a riveting conversation. I can guarantee you that. But before we get started, let's say hello to everyone that's joining in to us across the world on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Once again, my name is Madame Merola, and I'm known as the Bang Creator because what I do is I ignite the beautiful and bold, audacious, no excuses, God's masterpiece in you. So, yay! Welcome, guys. It's another motivational, magical Monday where we get inspired, empowered, and transformed to live our best life. So, how you all doing today? Say hello to me. If this is your first time on the show, I would like to give you a shout out. So, make sure you are active on the comment section. Share your thoughts with us. Ask us any questions. And of course, even if you have something that is along the line of what we're discussing, we would love to hear from you. So make sure you use the comment box and share your thoughts with us. So, as I said, today is season 5, episode 25 of this show. And we always have a tradition whereby we have a one word that we share with each other to be able to encourage ourselves. So my one word for the week is supposed to help me to stay focused. Your one word for the week is supposed to help you stay focused on what your main goals are. So last week, my one word for the week was faith. Faith to believe that everything is working out for my good, that no matter how things might seemingly look like they are not aligning, I have to have faith that everything is still working out for my good. So I want to know, what is your one word for the week? Share it with me and I will be able to also respond back. My one word for this week is fortitude. Yes, fortitude. I'm going to put that on the screen for others so that in case you're like, okay, interesting. One word for the week. Why? Because it's so easy to just give up on some of the things that we have in plans for ourselves because of maybe things are going awry, you're not feeling it anymore. So you need the fortitude to be able to press in, to stay strong and committed to whatever goals you set. So my one word of the week is fortitude. One word of the week. So I'm typing that so that you guys can see it on the screen. Okay. So I see some people already joining in. Say hello to me. Let me also know where you're logging in from. And as we can see, we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And you can share this video with your friends so that they can join in as well. And they can watch the replay once we're done at the end of the hour. So that is my one word for the week. So now I'm going to bring on my guest. His name is Dr. Bright Oris. He's a medical doctor, is an author and a relationships coach. And he's going to share with us a little bit more about himself because I believe that bio sometimes can be so boring. So it's better for you to hear from the horse's mouth directly what he's all about and why we're going to be talking about relationships in particular today. So please put your virtual hands together as I bring on stage with me Dr. Bright Oris. Hey, Dr. Bright.
Hi.
Hello.
Your intro was a bank.
Thank you.
Thank you for
It's great
having
to
me.
have
Thank you
you
so
here.
much. It's really good to be
Can
here.
I
Thank you
say
very much.
that I like your hair? It's so
Thank
funny. We always have this traditional idea of what medical doctors look like
Yep,
and
yep,
stuff. And I
yep.
think you're like breaking all the biases that doctors can
Yes,
also be funky and cool.
I'm shattering all of them. The crazy
Oh, I
part
love
is
it.
I just came back from a rotation. I work
Okay.
remote sometimes, or offshore and on-site projects and stuff. So when I got to where I was supposed to work, I don't want to name the place. It's one of these northern states project there. And the first time they all saw me in the camp, they were stunned. In fact, one of them said, "Is this going to be the new doctor in sight?" I say, "Yes." He say, "Wow." Like I did. I look nothing like a doctor. I had my hair, I wore my glasses, I wore jeans, I wore trainers, everything. Like, so you mean this guy? Say yes. So I'm glad that when people see me, they, in fact, I can say I'm everything, but not a medical doctor. When I say I'm a medical doctor, problem. Like, really, really, you don't look like. And I say, how is the medical doctor supposed to look like? Is there somewhere that is okay? This is how you look like. This is how you look like. This is how you look like. This is how you look like.
Okay, I think I've
Biases in
lost
that area.
connection
I'm
with
really
him
glad
for a
I'm
little
breaking
bit.
biases in that area.
Yes, honestly, I lost you for a little bit, but yes, I am so glad that you are having the fortitude and the courage to be able to break the bias, because sometimes we pander to people's expectations and
Yep.
people's norms of what they feel like people should look like, dress like, talk like, act like for certain
Yeah.
professions. And I feel like it's unfair because we all need to bring our own personality and flair to whatever we do. And we should be unapologetic about being ourselves and also pursuing the profession that speaks to our heart. So
Yeah.
you having someone being biased against you to say that, oh, you should dress more conservative and,
Yeah.
more this way to be able to uphold the honorable profession of medical doctors is absolute crap.
It is.
So
It is.
thank you for being the flag bearers of saying that, hey, I can be me the way I want to be and still be the best freaking medical doctor that you can
That I can
ever.
be. Yes,
Awesome,
indeed.
awesome. Thank you so much. So we're going to
Thank
share
you.
affirmations now. So bring it out the box,
Okay.
shaking it, and I'm going to pick randomly any five. And then afterwards, I'm going to ask you to share your affirmation that you particularly enjoy speaking to yourself with the audience and I. So first card coming out, second, just randomly selecting them. Three, four, and then one more, five. Okay. So, what do the cards for today say? All right. The first one says, I am totally in sync with life. I am passionate about my life. I am free from pain, anxiety, and stress. Optimal wellness is the natural state of being for me. Woo! I like that.
Wow.
The
Wow.
The second card says, my reality reflects my abilities to fully chase my God ordained legacy and dreams. Gold. I am capable of doing phenomenal things. Yes, I am. Woohoo! These cards are on point today. I love them. The third one says, I am guided, protected, and provided for by God. Everything is all right in my world because I am covered under the shadow of the Almighty. In this particular era that we're in right now, I believe that's a very great affirmation to have because the
Indeed.
world is just in so much disarray.
Indeed.
All right. The fourth card says, each day I feel grateful and live in a state of gratitude for everything in my life. I am grateful. Happiness and contentment grows in my life daily. Wow. And the final one says, daily I stay calm and serene. I am in harmony with my emotions. Whatever happens, I maintain my joy and peace of mind always. I remain unshakable. Wow.
Wow.
Fantastic cards that we have for today. Wow, wow, wow.
Indeed. Indeed.
Yes.
I
So,
particularly like the last one. I'm maintaining joy no matter what happens. I think that has been my watchword for a very long time because I realized that the winds of life will just blow up and down and scattered, and if you shift with it, you're going to have a very unstable life. But being able to maintain
mm-hmm.
posture, being able to maintain composure, beauty. I think I tweeted something like this the other day, like being able to. We are going to make mistakes. We are going to fall
Yeah,
on sometimes unforeseen circumstances, but you know, realizing that we are flawed humans, being able to
yeah.
maintain posture, composure, even when those mistakes happen, That is the goal. That is the goal. That has been my watchword. That's why I really connected with that last affirmation that you read out.
Wow. It's interesting that you mentioned it because for a long time, especially when I went through severe depression and I became suicidal, I had a very close friend of mine who was also a pastor, and he kept on telling me, maintain your joy, maintain your joy. This is not you. And I was always angry with him, like, what are you talking about? Maintain your joy, maintain your joy. Don't you understand what I'm going through?
True.
That the world seems like it's about to collapse on me because I went through domestic violence and it was just continuous and I just couldn't take it anymore. And he kept saying, maintain your joy. And it took a long time for me to be able to understand what joy was and that it wasn't what we've always assumed it to be, and that nobody has the power to take my joy unless I choose to give it away. It
Yeah.
finally dawned on me that it was my choice to make, to be joyful, happy, and always, just believing that life is good no matter how crazy everything else seems. And that changed my life dramatically. Since then, I did become, there was no suicidal thoughts anymore. I don't sink into depression because I understand that joy is within me to uphold and that nothing or no one has the power to take it from me unless I choose to give it away. So thank you for connecting with that particular information and sharing the fact that you also like to know that your joy is within yours to uphold. And I think it's also important with relationships, right? Because
Yep.
you always think that, oh, this other person is going to make me happy. This other person is going to make my life better. This other person is going to complete me, as if something in you is missing in the first place. Uh-uh.
Mm.
I don't think, we have so many things that we say or believe, hear and adopt that are just absolutely out of whack. But I think we're going to talk about some of them today and let people just understand that relationships can be what it is based on the individuals that are in the relationship, their mindset, their attitude, and the way they choose to actually conduct themselves in those particular relationships. So before we
Yep.
get into that, Dr. Bright, can you give us a little bit of a backstory as to who you are? Why did you choose to become a medical doctor? And you're also known as the love doctor. So how do you marry the two? I'm fascinated. So please, the floor is yours. Tell me a little bit more about you.
Okay. Well, some 2015, 25 years ago, there were only just basically very few professions in Nigeria that people deemed esteeming, professions. Medical doctor, being a lawyer, being a medical doctor, being an engineer. That was all.
Mhm.
So if you're not choosing one of these three when entering university, you are not serious. You're not serious. But apart from that, I've always wanted to be a medical doctor. I had always wanted to be a medical doctor. I always connected with, what my life will look like being a medical doctor, the access I'll have to help people. I've always have this mind of helping people, being of help, being of service. So it has always
Mm,
been something, somewhat like a passion for me since before I entered university. So, in fact, sometimes I look back to my old, I think these yearbooks that we make,
mhm. Yeah.
and I see that whenever I fill them, I write my initial, sign my name, and they say what profession would you? I always put doctor, medical doctor. So it
Really?
has always been a thing right from time. As far as I can remember myself, I've always wanted to be a doctor. So it was not difficult, and of course, my parents too. They wanted me to be a doctor. So our desire just kind of merged, So we both wanted the same thing. So it was easy to pursue a career in medicine, saying that it was my desire, and they wanted that as well, and they were willing to fund it. So it was easy to become a doctor. Although after I finished medicine, um, I don't think I'm as passionate, about medicine as I was, because I realized that all I wanted was to be of help to people, was to be in
Mhm.
that position to help people. And I realized that being a doctor is just one of those ways that I could be of help to people. So I discovered other areas that I can actually render this service, this help, this thing that has always been a passion to me. And being a relationship coach, helping to guide people through the healthy parts in relationship was one thing I really connected with for a very long time. It's just in the past few years I, started actively, pushing it But those are my passions. This is actually my original part, what I have always wanted to be. I could remove my lab coats today and not practice as a doctor, and I'll still feel fulfilled if I'm, in this path of guiding people in healthy relationships.
Oh, that is so nice. I love it. And it's so great when people are able to find their true purpose in life because, as you rightly said, that yes, you're a great medical doctor, but you're helping lives, you're saving lives, but then the core of your passion is in helping people build healthy relationships. And you can do that for the rest of your life and you'll be okay, you know.
Yeah,
So, thank you so much for sharing your backstory with us about how the medical doctor became the Agbero
relationship.
therapist, aka love doctor. So thank you for sharing that. And for those of you that do not understand Nigerian local parlance, can you explain what Agbero therapist means?
So I think it was just a nickname that I liked. I don't know, for some weird reasons, because people always say I schooled in Warri. I'm from Delta States, and
Okay.
we have this reputation for being very outspoken, stoutish,
Yeah,
in a way, and very vocal in the way we express our opinions, and we
that's
use
right.
some sort of street tone to express those opinions. And so I've always had that. Sometimes I will just throw in some very strange, very strong street tone.
Mm.
And because of the way I always use it, I think someone said I behave like Agbero.
Oh, okay.
It's sort of. So saying I
Yeah.
behave like Agbero, I behave like Agbero, you know. And then what I was doing was, helping. So the whole idea of therapy is giving
Please bear with us. We're having a little bit of network
that's
connection
why the name.
issues, but he will be back in a few seconds. And
I
he's
think
back.
I lost you too. Um,
Yes, the network went off from your end, but we're back now.
okay, so it's my end. Oh wow.
Yes. It's okay though.
Okay. Okay. So I think because of the way the person expressed that, they talk like they behave like Agbero, So it kind of stopped because now this was me using basic street tones to be able to connect with the everyday person. Use words that they can understand instead of just using very big, English words. I could come down and speak pidgin English and correct their which they worry them for sense. So because of the way I do that, someone says Agbero. So it just kind of stuck because it was a friend of mine. So the person was saying every time the person addressing the Agbero therapist, I'm like, no, okay, Agbero therapist. That's how I just kind of like adopted it, sort of. So I didn't originate it. So it's a nickname I just took on.
Interesting. That's very interesting. Thank you for sharing that with us. So now about the topic, the good, the bad, and the unknown sides of relationships. What do you think are the key rudiments that makes relationships to be so complex when I believe they're supposed to be so simple? But honestly, I think one of the greatest mysteries on earth is relationships and how to
Indeed.
make them work.
I always say this that there's no such thing as a complicated relationship. There are people are the ones that make relationships complicated. Relationship is easy. Relationship is simple. It's very simple. If you're
Mhm,
intentional about it, you realize that it's actually simple. Just that people
mhm,
bring their baggage, their unhealed traumas, their
mm.
personalities that are unrefused, they refuse to bend in their ways. They bring this into their relationships. They bring their own personal ideas into their relationships. And there is no way you can be with another human being unless the person is a computer program that you're not going to have, difference in opinions sometimes. And because people are so rigid in their own ways, they do not know how to accept or manage this difference in opinions. Hence, they say it's so complicated. it's so complicated. No, people make it look complicated, but it's actually very simple and very easy when you're with the right person, and you yourself, you are the right person too. So
I like that. I like the fact that it also is our perspective about things. If we see that relationships are simple, if we have the right mindset about it and the right attitude, things are not as complicated as they get. But then I
and there
think
is.
the personality clashes, the belief systems, and the way we conduct relationships in our professional lives, in our personal lives, can be so crazy because many times you have the fact that you have a right intention, you want to do right by others, you want to be
Yeah.
polite, you want to be helpful, but the other person comes at
Mm,
you for whatever reason. They're just, antagonistic, they're nasty, they're trying to suppress you, especially
yeah.
maybe at the professional setting. For how do you handle that?
Um, I think one basic skill I've come to realize that a lot of people are lacking when it comes to relationship is the skill of conflict resolution, emotional intelligence. Because emotional
Mm-hmm.
intelligence is the ability to manage your own emotions, but to also put in perspective the emotions of other people. And
That's
it's a
right.
struggle. It's a struggle. A lot of people are not intentional about it. They just move by emotions. Very few people live intentional lives. They just move by emotions. The way I feel right now at this moment, and they can't see beyond their immediate feelings. And then when you bring someone like this who is short-lived in their feelings and their emotions, merging with someone else that maybe is also short-lived in their emotions, you're going to have a catastrophe. You're going to have, disparities in communication. There's going to be a lot of misunderstanding because at this point, this person is experiencing some rise and fall of different hormones, and different neurotransmitters. The dopamine, the serotonin, they're up and down. And then this other person is just not in the mood because at that time too, person's dopamine is not balanced. And then you have a clash because none of them can look beyond what they are feeling at the moment, their neurotransmitters and all their emotions that they are feeling. And because of that, it makes things really difficult. It makes things complicated for these people because they are too absorbed in their emotions. That's just what I've come to realize.
Hmm. I love the fact that you mentioned intentional, that many people are not intentional about the way they live in life. And it makes me think about the fact that there are many things that I do, and
Mm.
I'm very intentional about them. So I'm also intentional about staying away from people that just maybe bring out the wrong kind of vibe around me or the wrong kind of energy or attitude, because I've realized that the more I allow these people to stay in my life and hang around me, they bring out the worst side of me that normally doesn't show up. But because they just start to press those buttons, I always say
Yes,
that
it's
there's
a
a
form of
devil
self love.
inside each and every one of us.
It's a form of self love, actually. It's a very interesting form of self love. Separating yourself from situations, people, and circumstances that bring out the worst parts of you. It's actually a form of self love. Some people don't know how to do that. Some people are so absorbed in their relationship with certain people, especially family. I'm going to point it, especially
Mm,
family, because people feel like family is what you cannot get away from. Who says? Who says?
yes.
If you bring stress to my mental health, I am going to keep distance from you. It doesn't matter who you are. I am going to keep distance from you. If when I'm around you, I do not feel like my best self, I am going to keep distance from you until I'm able to manage that part of myself without falling apart. I can handle you without my emotions shifting and twisting and turning up and down. So yeah,
Hmm.
I think that's a very
What
interesting
you
part of
just said
self love.
now, that you just shook tables, and you know that certain cultures, especially in Africa or even the Oriental culture, this kind of things, they'll be like, hey, family, you're stuck together for life. So we even feel like, oh, because you're my older brother or my uncle and stuff, and you're very toxic to me, I still have to tolerate you and stuff. And it took a long time for me to even be able to say that, you know what? I don't I'm not gonna hate you, but I'm gonna keep my distance from you guys. If we have any function that we need to be together at, great. But My personal space, my personal time, you ain't gonna have access to that because I don't need all the drama. I don't need all the heartache. I don't need all the stress, especially because as we found out that everybody needs to understand their love languages as well as what makes a thriving environment for them. So when people are speaking languages that basically attack me as a person that is not my love language, or they speak in a way that is kind of rude or trying to diminish me and stuff like that, it's not a flourishing or thriving environment for me. So I have the option to say that, you know what, I don't want to engage with this kind of people too often because it's going to break down some certain things in me. It's about knowing yourself and knowing the things that will make you act in ways you don't want to act. So I've had to, master myself, master my emotions, master what triggers me so that I can see in advance and say that, okay, you know what? This certain kind of characteristics, the person that talks this way, the person that acts this way, we cannot have a good working relationship. We cannot have a good intimate relationship together because we just don't fit. And then I can make the conscious decision to say, no, I don't want to be in a relationship with this person. But many people don't even know themselves well enough to be able to make the right choices because you always be like, oh, maybe things would change and stuff like that. But then what about if it doesn't? So what do you have to say about that, Dr. Bright?
I don't think I can hear you, but I don't know if you can hear me.
I
Uh,
can hear you. Did you can you hear me?
can you hear me? I
Yes, I
think I
can.
was okay, okay, but I couldn't hear you. I believe we're still
Okay.
talking about self love and separating yourself from people that bring out the negative parts of you, bring out
Yes.
negative emotions from you, and they are not really good for you. People don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're in an environment that people are not good for, you have to remove yourself. I had a client. She has this very toxic family, very dysfunctional family, you know. And then her complaint is that she cannot get away from the family, but every time she's in that family, every time
Mm-hmm.
she's in the midst of that family, it's always terrible. She feels her self confidence is severely dealt with. Her self worth, self esteem. She's always in a bad mood, crying. Feelings of
Mm-hmm.
depression, isolation begins to come in again. And I told her, I said, you have to separate yourself from this family. I understand that you say, oh, this is my family, this is my mom, this is my dad, these are my siblings. But they are bringing out the worst parts of you. That is not healthy. Because if you're not healthy, you will not be able to take care of yourself. And there's a saying when everyone gets on a plane, and they said, in cases of emergency, you have to put a mask on yourself first, even before you put
That's
for your
right.
child. There's a reason that happens. You have to be able to take care of your own self first. See, forget about everyone else for now. Take care of yourself because if you're drowning, you can't save someone else that is drowning. So you have to get on shore, get yourself on shore, get yourself that oxygen so you can see clearly to put it on your child. Don't say, oh, I love my child so much, I can't separate, and then you put the oxygen on them first. It's not going to work. I believe that experts, psychologists,
Mm-hmm.
thought about this and concluded that in cases of emergency, put the gas mask on yourself first, even before you put for your infant child. If the idea was just an immediate gratification that you did something selfless, they would have said, "Oh, put it on your child first. Look for an old woman that cannot help herself and put it on her first before you put for yourself." That is the mentality and that is the idea a lot of people have grown up with. I have to be of service to people before I be of service to
Mm-hmm.
myself. No, no, no. You have to be able to help yourself first. That is when you can really completely, in a healthy way, be of service to other people.
Yeah, and I love what you've just said, and it was basically part of what I was sharing when we lost communication. Can you hear me now?
I still cannot hear you.
Really? Okay, so I'm going to go off and I'll come back in. So can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so I just said, let me go out and come back in again. So I said, it's
Okay.
so funny that what you just shared was similar to the story of what I was talking about when you couldn't hear me. When I said
Okay.
that being in relationships, even with family, whereby I had to get to the point of knowing that these people are like triggers. I said you need to know yourself well enough to know what triggers certain reactions and responses within you, and to be able to make that conscious choice to say that I don't want to be in a relationship with these people for an extended period of time because it brings out the demons within me. And I said, I
Mm.
believe in each and every one of us, there are demons, there are things that, haunt us
We
or
don't
can
want out.
bring out the worst in us when those
Yeah.
buttons are pushed constantly.
Yeah.
So I have had to master myself to know that, okay, I know my love languages, I know what I want, I know how I can respond to and be the best of myself. And I also know what can trigger me to become the worst of myself. So
Indeed.
I avoid those kind of people as much as possible, especially in an intimate setting, because I know that it's just going to be a colossal disaster. And that is why I said, what informs people's choices when they're deciding to enter into intimate relationship with others? Because, we're talking about the good, the bad, and the unknown. There are many things that people don't share because of the
Mm.
fact that we also get together, say, don't talk about it, just keep it to yourself and all those kind of things. So there's so many what I call deadly sins that are covered in
Mm.
relationships that people don't speak about, but it's hurting them. And then they lash out or then do something. And we just say, oh, all of a sudden this person did this. They're like, you don't know what the
Just
person
changed.
has been
Mm.
enduring for a long period of time. So what do you need? What can you say about that? That what are the things that can affect relationships to go and turn really sour and very, very bad?
Okay, I think to answer that question, we'll have to find out what do we need for a relationship? What do we need for a healthy relationship in the first place?
Mm-hmm,
Because if we do not have those markers for a healthy relationship, it is going to turn sour. It's just a matter of time. Sometimes when I see people going into certain relationships, and I say, "No be swear, no be say I dey swear for you." I'm not prophesying evil, but this is going to end badly. It's clear, it's obvious. You know, and one thing people do not get is they don't pay attention to shared mutual core values. They do not pay
mm-hmm.
attention to this. They do not
I
see
love
this. I
that.
wrote this in my first book, Longevity of Love, and I talked about four core values that every couple should have in common, or at least have similar thoughts, before they decide to, move any relationship forward or go into any long-term commitment with those people. Faith being one of them. Faith being one of them. Religion. You have to believe the same thing. If you do not believe the same thing, similar things, you are going to have problem. It's just a matter of time. You are going to have problem, unless, of course, you do not really believe what you say you believe. But if you do not believe the
Mm-hmm,
same things, there's going to be problem. Another one I talked about was sex. Now, people fail to realize that sexual intimacy, sex is going to be a huge part of your long-term committed intimate relationship. So, if you do not have similar sex mentality, it is just a matter of time. It will scatter. It is not prophecy. It is not wishing bad luck. It will get to that point. Some people, as rebuttal to my statement, some people say, it's sex food. Everything is not about sex. Okay, if you say so. But if you do not have similar sex mentality with your partner, it's going to scatter. The other thing I talked about was money mentality. Now, what people don't get is that money plays a very huge role when you are in a committed relationship with somebody, especially at the marriage level. If you see money differently, you manage money differently, you understand money differently,
yes.
you are going to have problem. And this is shocking for a lot of people when I tell them that disparities and issues regarding money causes more problems in marriages than issues regarding sex. And it's always strange. Like, really? Yes, yes, yes. Money issues causes way more problems than sex issues in relationships. So the fourth one I talked about was family values. A lot of people have different family values, maybe because of up in, the kind of environment they grew up in when it comes to family values. So people have very different family values. While some believe some things about family, how the family structure is supposed to look like, what a nuclear extended family, the relationship and interrelationship between the nuclear and extended family, what it's ideal for them, while other people have different, different ideas. You see a man that wants to get married and says, "Oh, I want to get married to you, but you have to stay with my mom for minimum of 6 months before, we can get married. My mom has to be okay. My mom has to okay you before, you can understand that that person has
Mhm.
family values that are going to cause problem later. It is going to cause problem unless this person agrees with that pattern of thoughts, with those chain of thoughts. You know, people don't pay attention to shared mutual core values, and that is why you see a lot of issues in relationships. Things like you don't see this thing before you enter a relationship. You know the same as so this person they behave before. Which one you can't enter the relationship now? You can't do like say you surprise, you they shock. These are core values, and one thing about core values, you can't hide them. A person's core values, by having conversations with the person, you will know what the person thinks about certain things. And just that sometimes we just choose to ignore them, which is sad.
Hmm. Dr. Bright, you just hit some of us real hard with those four things you just shared right now. And it's interesting when you said that this common values or shared values, thought patterns, attitudes of people that they cannot be hidden for a long time if you're going to get into a relationship with people. But I also want to say that, we also have to be aware of the fact that some people are masters of deceit.
Mm,
They know some people will go out of their way to deceive you, to say what you want to hear, when they know in advance that if they say something different, then you're not going to get into the relationship with them. So I'm not saying that, yes, the signs are there, the red flags are always going to come up. But then we also need to not forget that the people can be very cunning, right? And sometimes you enter into a relationship that has been under false pretense. Like, and I'm going to give you practical example. Like, if you are in a relationship that is like long distance and stuff,
mm,
and you don't see the person very often, the person
mm,
is able to, I say, maybe maintain their emotions in some way. So you don't get to really know that this person has this very aggressive attitude, has anger
mm,
management, because when they are talking to you or around you, they know it's only for a short period of time before they take off
mm.
again. So
So they maintain composure.
yes, they maintain their composure. So it's not until you have entered
You will not see.
fully before you now be like, this is not
That's how
how
you
I
be.
know you.
That's how you be.
And the
I've,
reason why I'm saying this is because of when you said that, people say, why are you shocked? So you didn't know that that person was like this before? I'm like, no, I didn't. I'm honest to God, I didn't know. And even when you have an inkling, you ask the person outright, how do you deal with this or deal with that? The person is just going to give you certain answers that they know that if
you
it
want to
is
hear.
not that answer, they are out.
Indeed. Now, in response to this, I always tell people that now, if it's a distance, if distance is the factor, because you're not always around the person, it's possible to miss a lot of things, and you will miss a lot of things. Even when you have in-depth conversations about these things, you will miss them. You
Yeah,
you would miss them. But I always tell people this: unless a person decides to be intentionally deceitful, intentionally deceive
yeah,
you, they plan it. It's very hard. It's very hard to someone to stumble upon deception, intention, unless the person before they met you, they've decided that I'm going to deceive this person. So it was intentional on their part to deceive you. And for such people, unless by the grace of God, you can't catch them because this is what they intended to do. Because they are going to mask everything possible. They are going to hide every part of them that shows something different. They are going to hide it. They are going to hide it. And there's nothing you can do for such people. But I don't believe that there are lots of people, the percentage of people who come in to be intentionally deceptive is very high. What we do is that a lot of people are so engrossed in emotions. They are so eaten by the emotional part of the relationship, the feelings part of the relationship. So they are not rational in certain areas that they should be. So it's not like the lead just went off. It's just that now the emotions have given way for logic and reason to take over. So that is why it feels like, oh, you're now seeing these things. No, those things have always been there. And if you had
Mm-hmm.
removed emotions for a minute, you would have seen that those things were there. For example, I'm currently counseling a couple, and the man has always been the type that he's not a very proactive person. That's just who he is. He's easily contented. He's not an ambitious man. And now, because, and she married him like that, knowing that he's not that type that is, overtly ambitious. He's okay with little. He does not want to have billions.
Mm-hmm.
He's okay with being an employee. He does not think about, okay, I'll start my own company. He's okay with job security. And now she's married and they're having issues. Now emotions are out of the way. Logic and reason has come. And then she's saying, oh, he's not even a very proactive man. And I asked her a question. I said, was there a time when you guys were dating that he was this kind of person that you say he's not? He said, no. I said, you see, he has always been this person that is not proactive. But just that now, emotions are out of the way, butterfly feelings have given way, logic and reason has come in, and now you can clearly see those things that you used to cover up for, you used to excuse, you used to tolerate and condone. But now, because emotions are out of the way, you don't want to tolerate those things again. But those things have always been there for the most part of it. And I've come to realize that this is a story for a lot of people. Those things were always there. You just chose to willfully ignore it.
Hmm. That brings me to something that I hear a lot of people say, especially elders in family, like when you're talking about somebody and saying that, oh, this person does this or whatever, and they'll say, don't worry, he will change
Okay,
with time. Don't worry, she will change with time.
Lamba.
Dr. Bright, do people really change from the core of
Um,
who they are?
from the core of who they are, it takes a lot. It will take a lot. And it's not going to be because of you. It's going to be because they are not happy with that part of themselves and they intentionally work on it. And that is not a kind of process that takes a few months. It takes years to make a complete shift in the ment. Even at that, is going to be a lot. So unless this person realizes that they're deficient in this part of themselves and they want to intentionally adjust, there's nothing you can do. Nobody's going to change because of you. They're going to change because they themselves don't feel comfortable in whatever situation they were in whatever behavior. I know people that they intentionally took anger management classes because they didn't like the way they were getting angry. It's not because they wanted to be the best they that they could be, not because they wanted to be in a relationship or be married. No, they wanted it for themselves. So, can these people change? Yes, it's possible. Only if they want it for themselves. But saying, oh, he will change, there are times that people will say, oh, marriage will make a man, it will make him more responsible. A man that is not responsible, marriage is not going to make him responsible. So, unless that man has decided, oh, I want to be responsible, I want to be able to handle responsibilities, getting married to you will not automatically make him responsible. And we see this a lot with defunct, baby mamas, baby daddies, and the whole clash between them because they thought that, oh, if this man just gives birth, he will stop these habits. It doesn't always work like that. I had a neighbor when I lived in Sapele. He smokes. We used to call him Uncle Churchill. He smokes. And he said, he has a very deep voice, and he said, see, this cigar when I smoke now, if I just born Peking now like this, I will stop. He gave birth to two children, he still smokes. So imagine someone that says, oh, it's true. Of course, you can't be smoking where your children are. It's logical. Everybody knows you can't be smoking in the presence of little kids.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's logical. And he thought that too. But did he change? No, he did not. No, he did not.
The reason why I wanted to ask you that question is because it's fascinating how many times we hear people say it over and over again. Oh, don't worry. When the person settles into the relationship or into the marriage, he's going to change or she's going to change. And that, or maybe the wife is somebody that is a party but she likes going out a lot. They say, oh, don't worry, she will soon lose the taste for that. And then 5, 6 years down, the person is still telling that, hey, you know what? I need to go out and have fun. And one of my way of doing that is to go out to party, and you ain't gonna stop me. And then the person, she doesn't stay at home. What's wrong with you? And all those
Mm.
kind of things. It becomes an issue. It becomes an issue. Oh, I think you lost me for a while, right? Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, I can hear you well.
Okay. I was talking about the fact that, thinking people would change just because they have now become formally tied to you in a
Mm.
marriage or the relationship. It's a fallacy. And that's why I said we need to break some of the myths that people have about relationships. And another one that I want us to break is this: opposites attract. They say, oh, opposites attract. And I'm like, okay, opposites attract, but does that make for a recipe for a great relationship or a great marriage? What is your opinion about that?
I think sometimes when people say this idea of opposite attract is when it comes to certain personality traits. I think
I
it's
think
it's
I've
when
lost
people
him
talk
again.
about
Okay, he's
these
back.
different personality traits. For example, one is more calm and introverted, and the other person is extroverted. And then they say, oh, these people would make because the introverted one would merge with the extroverted one, and the melancholic type would merge with someone that is pragmatic and all that. But in the core, I do not think that opposites attract. I think that like attracts. People with similar mentalities, similar interests, similar core values, they will attract each other. People that have interests and values that are not similar, I do not see a world where they attract each other. There's no way me having the kind of mentality I have would attract someone that has opposite the mentality I have. Maybe you could see me and maybe be initially pulled by the physical attraction and, oh, this person, they look like the kind of partner I want to have. They have the physique and the face of the kind of partner I want to have. But in the core of it,
Mm-hmm.
if we do not have similar values, similar interests, there's not going to be communication anywhere. What are we going to be discussing? What will we talk about? Nothing. There's nothing we are going to talk about. So I do not agree that opposite attracts. What I do think is that people with similar values, similar interests, they are the ones who attract each other. And people who go for this, oh, opposite
I lost a bit of connection with Dr. Bright, but I'm sure I will be back again.
what I do suppose in this area. Can you hear me?
Interrupt. Now I can hear you. You're back. Yes.
Okay. So
I lost you for a
I'm sorry for the Nigerian network. I apologize.
bit.
So, what I do think in this area too, sometimes we are drawn to the parts of us that we wish we had. For example, a person that is very introverted might be drawn to someone that is very extroverted because this is the part of themselves they wish they could express. So, people that
Mhm.
are have some personality traits that are withdrawn, they want to be around people that are not as withdrawn as they are. You know, people that are easily loud, they prefer to be around with people that are quiet, more quieter than themselves. It's because the parts of us that long for those things that we think are lacking in ourselves. I think that is what might give that phrase opposite attracts. But because there's a part of us that longs for, oh, I feel like I'm lacking this thing, this trait I see in this person is something I feel like I'm lacking within myself. So, and it's difficult for me to assume that trait. So, the closest I can get to this trait that I so admire is to be around this person that exhibits that trait. But in the core of it, I think it's only people that have similar interests and similar values that attract each other. That is my overall thought on that.
the scripture that came to mind when you were saying that was Amos 3:3. Can two work together unless they agree? And I believe
You
sincerely that if you are planning to have a fling with somebody and you're not really serious about the person, then you might not be too bothered about the
yeah,
um
values,
values that you
interests,
guys don't have,
desires.
that don't align. Yeah, because you're like, you know what? I'm just in this for particular reasons, so it's all right. But when you want
Yeah.
to build a long-lasting relationship, you you can't afford to overlook your shared core values, because it is always going to be it's going to bring up a lot of contention, arguments, fights, because you guys are never
Yes,
going to see eye to eye about many things, and it's just going to be a constant thing unless one person is willing to change their own thought pattern or their own belief system and stuff. Is always going to be an area of contention. So I totally agree with you. And I also agree with you about all the other things you shared about money mentality, issue of sex, issue of family
faith and
values,
family
as
values.
well as, yeah, it's so important. Because, and I think there are some other things that can also make relationships more difficult. So I will mention one, and then I'm sure you have like lots of things that you can bring up and tell us as to why some certain relationships, even though there is room for it to work, they don't work. I'll say pride. When one
Hmm.
person chooses to be, like, I'm always right. This person, you just have to do it the way I want. Otherwise, sorry. I think that's an issue, because when you have too much pride in a relationship and you're not willing to see things from the other person's point of view and find a point of compromise whereby both of you can still be happy, then you're going to have lots of issues in that relationship. So share with us some other things that can affect relationships.
When you mentioned pride, when this conversation started, while we're still backstage at the time, I wrote something on my book, and I wrote being teachable is one of the skills and one of the traits that most healthy relationships are made of. And you find that dysfunctional relationships, toxic relationship, they have this trait of not being teachable. There's pride. Nobody
Mm,
wants to learn. Nobody wants to adjust. Nobody wants to compromise. So yes, when there's pride, the person is not teachable. You are not teachable because you are too proud. You are too absorbed in your own ways that you're unwilling to consider that maybe you might be wrong. Maybe there's a chance that you might be wrong. Now, no matter how sound your opinion is, no matter how convinced you are of how true it is, you have to keep that part of you that says, what if this is not as sound? What if I'm not, completely correct in this area? Am I willing to consider another opinion? Am I willing to consider an opposing view to my own, from my partner, and respect it and understand it and view things from that angle? So pride, yeah, it really affects a lot of relationships these days because it makes people unteachable. It makes people unteachable. There's also the problem with it also affects communication. It also affects communication because communication also affects the level of friendship. There's something I always there's a quote I always make, like, healthy communication is what makes it paves a role for good friendship. And where there is there's good friendship, then it's
mhm.
possible to have true intimacy. And that is where a healthy relationship is born. So
Yeah.
where you see a lot of people tell me, oh, I'm having issues with my relationship. I say the problem with this relationship is that intimacy is lacking. Like, intimacy. No, we have sex. They're like, intimacy isn't the same thing as sex.
Not the same thing.
They are not the same thing. I say intimacy is lacking. That is why friendship is lacking. Friendship is lacking because communication is lacking, understanding is lacking. So if you want to fix the intimacy, you have to go down to communication, work on that, build a friendship, and then through friendship, what happens after that? Intimacy becomes an offspring of that true friendship. So I think when you look at all this, you find where relationships have issues and the ingredient that can make it sweet or make it a lot more healthy.
I just want to say thank you for mentioning intimacy, because that was going to be my next question. That can any relationship thrive without intimacy? And I'm so happy that you mentioned it, and also that we clearly have to let people understand there's a distinction between intimacy and sexual relationship. That you can have intimacy with someone and the relationship has zero sex involved. because
Yep.
intimacy is about, being willing to be vulnerable, to also be, to let the person say that, okay, this is me. I understand. I'm trying to get to know you, and I also want you to get to know me, get to understand my temperament, understand my
Mm-hmm.
weaknesses, understand my fears, and the things that are my strengths. So it goes both ways, as in, I always like to use this phrase from the Bible: being naked and not ashamed with each other. And the nakedness is not about you taking your clothes off, but allowing the person to see the innermost part of
Parts
you.
of you.
And once you are so guarded and you cannot allow someone to see you at that point, to be able to see you at your worst level and be vulnerable enough to say that, look, this is something that I struggle with. I have insecurities about this. I suffer
Mm,
from inferiority complex sometimes based on
mm,
this and that. Let the person understand you. Remove the ego. Then there will the person, unless the person is a cycle, the person would actually feel that emotional connection with you to say that, oh, okay, now I know why he reacts this way or why she says this sometimes. Oh, I had past trauma from being sexually abused or raped and stuff. So sometimes when you say or do this, I
mm.
react that way because of the fact that I have not yet healed completely from that past trauma. Being willing to let people see the ugly, wounded side of us
Yeah.
sometimes is so essential, because all of us have walls that we build up. We all have this facade. I really want them
Yes.
to see our strength and see our accomplishments and see us in a good light. But then that is also hiding other parts of us that makes us a complete whole. That's why
Yes.
my next question is, how does past traumas affect relationships, especially when those past traumas they've not been dealt with.
I actually made a tweet about this yesterday, and I posted it on my Instagram. And I talked about people who have not dealt with their past traumas, especially childhood traumas. They end up bringing those same traumas into their relationships. And worst of all, they impact those same traumas into their kids. Uh,
Mm,
the environment that we grow up in is very important. And that environment is made of the internal environment, the external environment. The internal environment being the condition and the environment that was put in the house, in the home. What environment did it look like? There are dysfunctional families that every day it's one fight from physical abuse is a thing. It is heaped in that area. It is crazy. It is insane. I have been in a settings. Oh God, I have been in a settings where husband and wife were having issues with each other, and then the king's men came, called the wife, and told the man, "Oh yeah, beat your wife." They gave him cane, flog him. Now your wife do it you want done. Imagine a home where children are raised in these
hmm
settings. What do you think it will do to them? It will teach the girls in that home to see physical abuse as normal. It will teach the boys to see that it's okay. There are certain cases where a guy will say, my dad cheated. Now, which one are you saying I should not cheat? My dad had plenty girlfriends. He had plenty concubines. He did this. My dad beat my mom. I've seen a home where the man keeps cane for his wife. Like cane. There's a special place he keeps the cane. Now imagine raising a child growing up in these family settings of such level with such level of abuse. What do you think it does? It does a lot. It changes that child a lot. And until the child intentionally tackles those traumas, those mentalities that have been formed from the environment that the child grew up in, he or she is going to unconsciously bring these same traumas into his or her home and impact them on the kids and impact them on the kids. That is why it's so important. It's very, very important um, to deal with these past traumas, because these traumas lead to abandonment issues. They lead to trust issues. They lead to feelings of isolation, and these are not traits that are healthy for people that want to build healthy, committed relationships. So it's important that these traits are dealt with, they are discussed, and they are tackled. First of all, an awareness about what happened to them should be called into brought to the conscious level and then intentionally challenged and dealt with. Intentionally challenged and dealt with. I think I lost Madame Merola. I think I lost her. I hope she comes back quickly. Uh, like I was saying, it's important to deal with these childhood traumas. And most times, you have to talk with a professional, a counselor, a therapist, to be able to bring these things back into the conscious mind. You have to be able to talk to them. A lot of people have not become aware. A lot of people just brush them aside. I knew of a lady about 3 years ago. She sent me a message and she was like, that she had issues. She found out that her dad was cheating on her mom, and this was a dad that she respected so well. And since that incident, she has not been able to foster a stable relationship with any man because this was the person she held in such high esteem, the father, and then he was behaving in a way that she could not understand. And because of that, she had trust issues for men. She could not believe that if this man who I see every day and I think is the best man ever could, behave in such a way and has not, admitted to how that particular behavior has impacted me, has changed me, then I can't trust any man. I can't trust any man. And because of that, what happened? She found it very difficult, very extremely difficult to foster healthy
Apologies. I hope you
relationships.
guys can still hear.
Yes, we can hear
Okay.
you now.
All right.
I was
I can hear
mentioning,
so yeah, go ahead.
okay, I was mentioning a client I had a conversation with about 3 years ago who could not keep a stable relationship because she found out her dad was cheating on her mom, and
Mm-hmm.
it made her develop trust issues for men. And until she was able to really talk about it, I mean, she talked about it. You found out that when she talked about it, she unburdened herself and she was able to deal with it. I think she approached the dad and said, "This was something I found out some years ago." She didn't approach the dad at the time she found out. That's the problem, you know. And she approached the dad years later and said, "This is what I found out, and I think this was not okay." She approached him, she dealt with it, she confronted it. Guess what? She was able to allow that chance to be able to build and foster relationships. She got married. I think she has a child now. I see her on Instagram, and it was really interesting to hear. But you find that because of that trauma that she had, because of that past experience that she had from the environment she grew up in, it created a mental block. It created the limitations for her to be able to enjoy and foster healthy relationships. There are so many stories tied to this environment, how the relationship between father and mother impacted the way the children view their partners.
Yeah.
The long
Uh,
list.
it's a long list. Honestly, I wish we had more time because this trauma and also environment and how it affects how we also go into our own relationships based on how we saw the people around us deal with their own partners and stuff really is something that we could talk for over an hour just over that one point. And
Indeed.
it's something that we all need to look at critically and say that, okay, what are the things that we observed, we absorbed as children, as
Mm,
young adults that we have unconsciously started doing in our own vital relationships that needs to be corrected, and we
mm,
need to be willing to make that correction, because at the end of the day it's going to hurt our partners and stuff when we're not willing to start to work on the things that are detrimental. And then the final question I wanted to ask you was about how important is knowing the love languages between partners and then adopting that person's love language.
it's how important, very important. I actually saw another tweet yesterday, and the person was asking, should you love your partner in your love language or in their love language? And my submission was both, both. Now everybody has their own love language. For me, there are love languages that are more expressive, that are, I would say, top, at that level. For some people, it's physical touch. For some people, it's
Mm-hmm.
acts of service. Now, imagine a man, and I saw this. The lady is not the physical touch type of lady. But the man is a physical touch. The man is always hands-on. He wants to grab her every time. He wants to touch her. He wants to smack her ass when she passes by. And then, but that's not really what she is about. And guess what? After a long time, Something happened, the man did not, was not so physical with her again, touching her, smacking her. And then guess what? She realized that this man had taught her physical touch as a love language. Now she wants to feel loved by his expression of physical touch. So at the end of the day, you find that when you love your partners, not just in your love language, but in their love languages as well, even though they are not predominantly your love language, you find that you begin to adopt their own love languages with yours. And at the end of the day, you find out that you are both expressing one huge love language. There's no demarcation at that point in time. No demarcation at all. So my submission is love, there are just five. So why can't you use the entire five love languages of your partner? Use it all. There should be no restrictions to the limit you should love your partner or the limit you should express love to your partner. If your partner is a fan of gifts, do it. At the end of the day, you find out that receiving gifts from your partners, there's a way it makes you feel. It makes you feel happy receiving gifts from your partner because you know that this is their love language, and them expressing it to you is a show of love, and then you begin to adopt these things, with your partner. One thing people don't get is that you pick traits from your partners. There are certain ways that your partner speaks. If you're staying with them for a long period of time, you are going to adopt that pattern of speech. You are going to like sitcoms. There are people that don't like sitcoms. They don't like certain genre of music, certain genre of movies or
Yeah.
everything. But the moment they begin to stay with their partner who likes that particular genre, they begin to pick interest in it to the point where it becomes their interest as well. You know, I think that's the goal, to find what your partner enjoys and be so in sync with them that you find yourself effortlessly enjoying those things as well.
You've
Effortlessly.
just said it all. And I think it all goes back to that one word that you use when I mentioned pride, that act of teachability. And it's all about, service. If you say you love somebody and you want them to be at their best, highest self,
Mm.
sometimes you do some of the things that brings the other person pleasure just for the joy of it. Just
Yeah,
for the joy of it. So,
yeah.
everything you said, I was just smiling because when the other person is like someone that wants words of affirmations and wants you to call and check up on them at least once or twice a day, and then you keep on saying, I'm busy. You're like, do
Mm.
you have time to go to the bathroom and take a pee? Do you have time to drink a bottle of water? Do you have time to eat? So how can you not have 1 or 2 minutes to send a text or pick up the phone and say, hi babe, how are you? I hope everything is okay, when you know that that's what the person wants.
That the person wants.
It's just so funny. So just as you said, when you know that, okay, I'm not the highly sexual kind of person, but my partner is, and he takes pleasure in that, you find yourself, okay, being susceptible to say, okay, just because it makes that person happy, then even though
Mm.
you're not really that, you just do it because you're like, okay, and it comes from the fact that you want the other person to be happy. And
Yes.
if you're not willing to make the other person happy, before you know, you start having resentment because you're like, oh, I'm always doing this for the other person. The other person
Mm.
doesn't even do anything for me. And then you
It
start
feels like a
using
burden.
all those withholding tactics and say, okay, when he does this, I'm not going to do what he wants.
Mm.
I'm not going to do what she wants. That's where all that game starts in a relationship where you're
Mind
like,
games,
okay,
manipulations.
you're playing games with each other and saying that I'm going to withhold what she likes because she didn't do what I wanted and stuff like
Mm.
that. And then before we know it, the relationship can degenerate because it's still pride that is at work. Because instead of you to just simply say to the person, I wasn't happy when you did this or when you did that, and don't become defensive when the person
Mm-hmm.
tells you that, because that's another thing. You get
That's
defensive, you take it personal, and then you get angry, and then you start to withhold all manners of things. What was that thing that people do? They keep malice, don't talk to each other, and say,
mm.
oh, you do your own thing, I do my own thing. The relationship is just going to go spiraling downwards from there.
Yes. To scatter. To scatter. To spoil. To spoil.
So right now there are people watching the show and they're going to watch the replay, and they're having challenges in their relationships and Some probably want to walk away. Some don't even know how they got to where they are right now. What words of wisdom and advice would you want to share with them right
One thing I would say is take it one step at a time. The grass is greener where it's watered. You have to water your relationship to see it blossom. And don't feel bad if you've tried your best and then it's not serving you, and the best course of action is to walk away. Don't feel bad. Don't feel like you failed just because the relationship is no longer serving you. But try your best. Do all the possible best you can do. Get help. Get professional help if possible, and develop strategies. Some people say they work on their relationships, but they've just had all the work they work in is just in their mind. They've not sought real measurable steps. There are no real measurable steps that they've taken to work on it. There are no books that they've read. There are no counseling sessions that they've attended. There's nothing they've done together with their spouses to say, okay, this is an action that we are putting into the relationship. It shows that we are working on it. Having conversation and arguing, that is not working on it. Get professional help if possible. And that's the part where I feel like a lot of people, they're lacking.
now?
They're just absorbed in getting advices from their friends who are biased, obviously, from their family who are biased, obviously, and then they don't get the complete solutions to whatever their issues are. So get help, get professional help if possible. And if having done all you can do, and it's
Mm-hmm.
still not working, do not feel bad in letting go. If letting go is the best course of action, let go. Don't worry yourself. You are going to get another one. Yes.
Thank you so much for saying that. I really love how you just said, after doing all that you can do, you've done the absolute best that you can do, and it's still not working. Don't kill yourself. Don't
At all.
don't lose your joy. Just walk away with peace of mind.
Yes.
It's better than staying in a very, very unhealthy and unproductive relationship. And I just
Yeah.
wanted to put an aside for what you mentioned about counseling, that we, especially in some parts of the world, they see it as a sign of weakness when you say, oh, let's go and seek counseling, let's go for
Mm.
help. Most times you find one member of the party is very resistant, because to them they feel like, now I have to go and air my dirty laundries in the front of another person, and that person is
A
going to judge
stranger.
me. Yes, the person is going to judge me, the person is going to want to tell me what to do, and all those kind of things. If your relationship matters to you, let go of that ego, because as we always say, we all have our blind spots. And most of the time, if our partners are telling us some certain things, we're probably not hearing them. We need
Yes.
this outsider, this third party that has no vested interest, is not going to gain anything from it, to tell us the honest truth and see it from a perspective that we're probably not seeing it from. So I always advise that go to the right kind of counselors. Not
Yeah.
everybody is right for you. So don't just go and meet your friends because you think your friends have been married for 20 years or 30 years
Mhm.
and their marriages are stable. You do not know what they are going through or hiding. So they might
Of
not be
course.
having the best of marriages. It's just long in number of years, but it's not a happy marriage. It doesn't
Hmm.
mean that your pastor is qualified as well, because sometimes some pastors are not credited or know how to counsel people aright. Seek the right type of counselors, people that have expertise and experience in dealing with relationships, so that you will get the kind of advice that will be beneficial to both of you. And please, don't go to your family for counseling. Families are always going to be biased. So at the
Yes.
end of the
Mhm.
day, one person is always going to feel bad at the end of it.
Mhm.
So don't go to your family for counseling. Seek a professional. Go to someone that knows what they're talking about when it comes to helping couples resolve their conflicts, and you will be better off for it. I can guarantee you that. And as
Yeah.
Dr. Bright said, if you've done all that you can and it's still it's not working, or you just found out that, we're unequally yoked, we're just not right for each other,
Mm.
we'll be better off as
Mm.
friends. Better for you to say adios to each other in a mutual and peaceable way than stay together and be miserable. Okay, so I would just want to ask Dr. Price some personal questions to end the show. It's already 14 minutes past the hour, so we've got longer than we planned, but the conversation has been so good. I don't want it to
Yes.
end.
Me too.
All right,
Indeed.
so Dr. Bright, what is your favorite color?
Ah, you see, this question is a very hard question. You know, I enjoy colors that match. I'm a white fan. I like white, but I don't think I have a favorite color. If it fits well, if it suits me, if it comes off well, I like it. But I really like
Nice.
white. I like white. Because it always seems to take me. I'm black. So I need something to offset that complexion. So bright colors sometimes do it for me.
I've seen you in so many different colors, and I have to say you carry all of them well. So,
Yeah, I try.
yeah. So, what is your
Okay.
favorite food?
Food.
Yes.
This too is something else that I like more proteinous foods, beans, um, chicken breast, turkey, white meat, healthy foods, fruits with healthy foods. I'm a fan of that. But then when it comes to traditional dish, owo and stash, I cannot see it and remove my eye. It's not possible.
Really?
I
Oh
must eat
my
it.
God. So you're a
Yes.
traditional food man. That's awesome.
Not just swallow, just that particular one. Just
Just that
that
particular is
particular
the
one.
one that you.
Yes. Draw soup
Okay.
too. Draw soup. I can.
Ah, you really like
I
Nigerian food.
No, I like food. I like food. I like food. Generally,
Just food.
that's why it's hard to say this is my favorite food because I like food.
Wow, that's so funny. Okay, if there was one word that you would use to describe yourself, what is that word?
Bright.
Bright. Ah, I like that. Dr. Bright is bright.
Yeah, bright. You know the funny thing? I named myself Bright.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
So, what is your God-given name? What the names that your parents gave you?
Um, Traditional name. One was Eru. There was
Okay.
Nuruddin. But I named myself Bright and then legally changed it to Bright.
Did you say Nuruddin?
Yes, it means
Also,
light.
you have an Arabic name.
Yes.
Interesting. Interesting. I also have one, and I'm not going to
Okay.
share it
Yeah, no good.
online.
That's not fair. That's not fair.
Will tell you offline. I will not share it with you online. But I can give you a hint. Is where the Mercy, my name, comes from, which is part of what makes up Merola. But so if you
Okay.
know Arabic, you automatically know what the name is. So we will talk about it offline.
No problem.
So I was going to ask that. What is your favorite city that you've visited in the world?
In the world, favorite city I've visited. I visited, well, Dubai. Dubai would be one place I visited that I really liked. There's also Odessa in Ukraine. It was really fine there. It was really fine. I
Oh,
hope to.
okay.
I have a favorite city that I have not visited yet. Santorini, Maldives. These are
Mm.
favorite places that I have not yet visited, but I already
But
see
you
that they're
wish
my
they're
favorite.
on your wish list.
Yes, they are.
Awesome.
Singapore. There are
Hmm.
plenty. There are plenty.
Okay. Awesome. So are you single or married? Okay, so now I even have to change that question. Are you single? Are you in a committed relationship? Are you married? So
Okay, I'm in a committed relationship.
fantastic.
No married,
So what
committed.
is the one core value that you seek in your partner?
One core value that I seek in my partner, I think it would be respect. Um, a partner that is respectful because I fashion myself as a person that is very respectful. So I think a partner that is respectful really fits me. Really fits me. That's something I think I told someone at one time. I can be anywhere, but not a place where I do not feel respected.
Oh, that's nice. Okay, so if you were to take a journey 5 years backwards
Mm.
and this current version of yourself meets yourself 5 years younger, what advice would you give to that 5 years younger version of
Whew.
you?
Number one, invest in Bitcoin. Buy Bitcoin.
Okay, imagine.
Buy it first. Buy Bitcoin. Just worry. No worry. Buy Bitcoin first. I think I would also take a different path career wise. I think there are certain paths that I took that slowed my journey down. But I would not make that mistake if I could go back 5 years, because exactly 5 years ago, I had just graduated from medical school.
Okay.
So I was in that space where I was really confused on the direction I should take. So if I could go back, I'm going to have a redo. If I could have a redo, there are a lot of things that would have changed. A lot of things.
But the key one is the path you took in your medical profession and buying Bitcoins.
Buy Bitcoin. Buy Bitcoin. Plenty. In fact, I'll use one semester school fees just to buy Bitcoin.
Oh my gosh. What about relationship wise? Would there be anything you would change? Are
No.
there some relationships that you got into that you'd be like, hell no, I ain't gonna do it again? Or you'd be like,
And
yes.
no, no, I will not change anything about my relationship because even from that time already, I already knew what I wanted my relationship life to look like, and I was already on that path. So there's very little I would change there, because all experiences were instrumental to where I am now. So I wouldn't change anything.
I love that. So you're an author. So tell us a little bit about your book and how we can get access to it.
Okay, so I have two books. The first one is Longevity of Love. I published that in 2019. Uh, Published that in 2019. Actually, 2018, ending of 2018. That was when I published Longevity of Love. And then second one, if you can see, I cheated now what?
Ah, wow.
So I started writing this book in 2019, but I finished it last year. I finished it last year and got it published. Got it published this year. Sorry, last year.
What's
I
the
got it
topic?
published last year. This is I cheated now what? I cheated now what? Um, it's for couples that they had a brush with infidelity and they're trying to find their way back to each other. So the book gives an overview of things they should look out for, and kinds of gives some perspective on how to walk back to that place where they feel love for each other again. Both books are on Okada Books. Okada Books is like the Amazon Kindle of Nigeria. So you can get the ebook there. Just when you type Dr. Bright Longevity of Love or I Cheated Now What, the book will come up. Hard copies can be gotten from me. Also, hard copies are in, I think, some bookstores in Lagos. I don't know if they are still there, honestly. But hard copies can be gotten from me, for myself. So if you want to get a hard copy, you could just send me a DM on Instagram, on Twitter, or you can send me an email, drbrightcounsel@gmail.com, to uh, inquire about getting the hard copy of the book.
All right, can you say your email again, Dr. Bright?
Counsel, Dr. Bright
Okay.
Counsel @gmail.com. Everything is spelled
All right.
out DOCTOR BRIGHT, Counsel, COUNSEL.
The doctor is in
Gmail.
full.
Yes, it's in full.
Okay. All right.
Yes, my Instagram handle is Dr. Bright, Dr. RR. Yes. Because some people don't
I got it right.
usually get that. Yes, you got it right. It's still my Twitter handle as well. So you can reach me on both that same handle on Twitter and on Instagram.
So I hope. And that's your email?
Yes, it is. So you can reach out to me and you get a copy.
All right, guys, that is a wrap for us here today on Live a Phenomenal Life Show, Season 5, Episode 25. It has been such an amazing conversation. And honestly, I didn't even know time was fast spent because I was so into the conversation. It was so riveting, enlightening, and also very, very, very touching, because there are many things about relationships that we need to speak about. And of course, we know there are good sides, bad sides, and the unknown sides to relationship. But the choice is always yours, how you make your relationships to become. So if you are the factor that is bringing out the bad side in the relationship, you have the owner to start to work on yourself, seek counsel, and be better. And if you know at the end of the day that you're doing your absolute best to make sure that your relationships are working, kudos to you. Keep doing your best, keep putting out the best that you can, because at the end of it all, that is all you can do as an individual. Once again, my name is Madame Merola. I'm the band creator that ignites the beautiful and bold, audacious, no excuses, God's masterpiece in you. My guest today has been Dr. Bright Oris, a medical doctor, author, and relationships coach. You can reach out to him on Instagram and Twitter at Dr. Bright. As I put it on the screen before, I'll do it again so that you guys can reach out to him. If you want to get any of his books or also schedule a counseling session with him, please reach out to him at drbrightcounsel@gmail.com. His services are not free. It comes with a fee because you need to take what you want to gain as value seriously. But make sure that you do it because it is what you need for you to be able to grow and become a better partner in every relationships that you get yourself involved in. Once again, thank you for joining us today. I look forward to serving you, inspiring, empowering, and transforming your life one show at a time. Next week again, as I say, have a wonderful Monday and make sure you do you 100% unapologetically, because there's only one version of you. God bless you and bye. Thank you, everybody.